Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing one of your most requested videos, and that is, how do you know the difference between psychic hits and your thoughts? Now, when you're just starting out, it can be very difficult to understand, am I just thinking these things, or is this actually coming from somewhere else? And so today I'm going to be breaking down 7 tips of how you can sort of differentiate and tell the difference between psychic hits and your own thoughts. So the first biggest thing with psychic hits is that you know they're psychic if they are coming to you rather than from you. Being psychic and having the psychic ability is all about receiving. It's about letting it come to you. If you're trying really hard and using your analytical mind and you're searching and you're trying to analyze or figure out the information, you can feel that kind of energy, when you're really trying to know something. That's exactly opposite of what we need to be in. So if you're thinking, if you're analyzing, it's probably not intuitive. Intuitive information, you should sit here and it should come to you. And I love this. This was given to me by my mentor, Karen Fox. Am I analyzing, or is it coming to me? Is it flowing? Am I sitting back and just allowing it to be? And this is something that when you are reading for a lot of people, you get stressed because you're like, oh my gosh, I need to give them an answer. They're sitting here, they're paying me for a reading and I'm not getting anything. And then you get no information, and then it gets harder and harder and you get more and more stuck. And so this is one of the biggest things that you really have to step back and you have to let it come to you and trust that it's going to come to you. The next way you can know if it's psychic or not is oftentimes psychic hits or psychic information is something that you haven't thought of before. It might be an answer to a question and you hadn't thought of that being a possibility. So if you're trying to find a lost object and you're seeing something that previously you hadn't even thought of it being in that space, that's an example of it being new information, new insight. Because oftentimes, we know it's not us if we haven't thought of it, or else we would have thought of it. And so that's kind of a good little indicator in your mind if you're confused on if it's intuitive or if it's not. Another easy way to know is just by examining the state that you are in. A lot of times psychic hits and psychic information come to us when we are relaxed, when we are meditative. Think about it. If you're running around and you're stressed out and you're trying to get your to-do list done, probably not the best time that you're hearing and paying attention to your guides. But when you're taking a shower, when you are on a run, when you are sitting by the beach, those are moments where you're relaxed, you're not in that monkey mind. Not saying that you can be at a beach or you can't be at a beach and be not relaxed. That's definitely a thing. But that kind of space when you're in the zone, when you're meditative, when you're receiving, it kind of goes along with that first thing that we were talking about. If you are in a better space to receive, you are probably most likely in a meditative or centered or grounded state of mind. Another way to know if a psychic hit is a psychic hit is if the information is actually usable. It's useful, it's actionable, it's positive. If you're getting negative messages, sometimes this can be our own mind or that own negative self-talk. But that doesn't mean you can't be talking to negative spirits and they could be giving negative advice. That could equally be as intuitive. But sometimes it's an easy indicator because our own minds were a little bit more analytical of ourselves. If we're talking to beings for our highest and best good, then that information should always be helpful. So the next one I've talked about so many times is sort of similar to the last tip of it being useful or not, but this one is just trusting your gut. Does it feel like it's intuitive? And deep down you're going to know if it's not, because non-intuitive information sometimes just doesn't resonate. It feels like that doesn't apply, or that's making me feel worse than I did before. And so I see this happen most often when other people get readings from psychics who are not connecting right. And maybe the psychic said something that just didn't resonate with them, and they're like, I feel so crappy about it. I don't think that's happening, but they said it did. And, we obviously get into the whole issue of people believing psychics a little more than they should. But the biggest thing there is that you shouldn't be walking away from a reading feeling like crap. And so if you are, the question is, you know, was that person, was that psychic really using their intuitive mind, or were they using their logical, analytical mind? Because if they were, that information should be helpful. Now, again, there's a gray line here to all of this, because you could have also picked up the intuitive hit correctly, and you could have just given it in not the best way. Like you could have communicated it in a very harsh way. But in general, it should feel right. It should feel like, okay, I do feel like that was intuitive. And you guys know that feeling when somebody gives you a reading and you're just like, oh my gosh, that is so spot on. And you might not always feel that about every single thing you pick up on, and that is totally normal and totally right. I would probably say 20% of the time do I actually feel like absolutely this, 10% of the time I feel like absolutely 100% right about it. And what I love about this tip is at the core of it, it's trusting your gut. It's trusting your gut that you're getting those gut feelings correct. The next tip I have is to practice. Practice, practice, practice. That's what my coach always said. When you practice, you will understand the difference between your intuitive mind and your thoughts better, especially when you are adequately shutting off your intuitive ability and you're going about your day. You realize what your thoughts sound like, versus when you get into a reading, you turn on that ability and kind of what those voices or those other beings or spiritual helpers sound like. I know that's probably frustrating, but I can't tell you guys enough how much that tip alone has just helped me. You just have to practice. You have to know. And there's some times where you're just not going to know, and you're going to be grumpy at yourself, and you're going to be like, oh, what does it mean? Was it real? Was it not? And you just have to let it go. Because if it was a message you're supposed to receive, it'll come through again. But at the end of the day, you just have to practice, and you have to understand the difference, and that only comes with experience. My last tip, do you know if it's psychic or not? If it's psychic or just your thoughts, just ask. Just ask your guides. Stop in the moment and say, hey, is this somebody talking to me? Or is this me? And oftentimes you won't hear anything back, and you'll be like, I think that might have been me. Or you might be like, yeah, I'm talking to you. And you can ask further questions. Who am I talking to? And, you might find out it's a good or a bad energy. And, get into your boundaries and make sure those are set and you're protected. And sometimes it's just so much easier to just ask in the moment, and you'll know, again, that gut feeling if it's you or not. Again, you won't know every single time. It's okay. You're going to figure it out with practice. So I'm curious, do you guys have any other kind of signs or telltale things that okay, this is me versus this is my psychic ability? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Thank you for watching. And just know, at the end of the day, to trust your gut. You're going to have to practice a lot anyways, and just get a sense of, what's intuitive versus what's you. And I know that's the hard answer, but I promise you guys will figure it out, and you'll be able to differentiate it pretty well. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I will see you in my next video. Bye.